Warrior Poets. This is the introduction of the video. And that was a haiku. Check the math. This is internet personality Vangelus, and I'll be diving into familiar waters with Transformers Generations Age of the Prime's Voyager class Sky-Byte. That's right, they did seem to stop listing the universes on the packaging. Rest well, Legacy Trilogy. Rest well with all of your copious syllables.
This video was sponsored in part by TransformersTCG.org. Fan continuation with fresh designs and physical card availability. Goodie packs onboard new players as starter decks, or refresh stocks of staple game pieces for established players with new alternate artwork battle cards and original chibi art character cards. Playing these cards supports the channel. Supporting the channel feeds the machine.
The third fully intentional 2001-style Sky-Byte of the 21st century, if one includes 2001's own G1 Sky-Byte from Robots in Disguise, this 2020's rendition kinda finally hits the long-awaited dream of having a robot mode that isn't suffering to some degree under the weight of his own alt-mode logistics, with both a clearly defined, somewhat slender bipedal body and folded shark part accoutrement that managed to ride some very fine lines on the better borders of compactness and practicality. Age of the Prime's Sky-Byte makes a staggeringly solid first impression despite being so disassembled in the package that his pectoral fins are on a friggin' sprue. I'm just realizing there's a sprue that has been twist-tied onto the package, but the stuff on the sprue that I want has not been. So can I not yeah. Lazy. I see where these twist ties could have gone through the part in question. But it seems somebody was asleep at the wheel, or maybe trying to clock out early, and only had those things go onto the highly disposable and forgettable sprue that the fins come on. You gotta get up pretty early in the morning to outwit old G2 Pat Lee. No god hand or sandpaper? The plastic colors, paintwork, and surface sculpting on Sky-Byte all coagulate into a visual delight, preserving and even highlighting the Transmetal 2 asymmetries that define the bedrock of this Predacon's body. Take a close look at your own copy sometime if you have one, because you may not even realize just how asymmetrical this guy is. Hidden away in the bestial pallet that skirts over Sky-Byte's posterior is a small twin missile launcher, springless and fireless in its static plastic monoform. More interesting is the way that Sky-Byte's pectoral fins, which bear 5mm pegs, can get up to a bit of melee mode Evo Fusion! In fact, his removable shoulder pads also use 5mm connections in case you want to experiment and get a little weird. Sky-Byte's head is on a ball joint, but it is a bit limited in its side-to-side waggle, not so much in its up-and-down waggle, and thankfully, it has a giant joystick to manipulate it, which is a really cool feature more Transformers should have. His shoulder pads are on dedicated hinges and, I'll say dedicated because it's where the peg goes in, swivels. It means they can actually articulate a lot for giant shoulder pads. His rear fins, being 5mm in, also can emote if you want. This stuff can also flap around, but it is meant to be tabbed in to some slots on whatever this object on his back is. His arms themselves are also fully rotational for the most part. That's about as far out as they go naturally. You can de-transform them a bit, but I would say be careful doing that because you're, on a slider that you'll find out about soon. And you can, cheat your way around this a bit by moving them up and then rotating this bicep swivel, which is like a double mushroom peg dealy. The elbow bend is a nice, solid, tight 90 degrees. This hand actually has some articulation in that you can grippy and pinchy and spready these two fingers, whereas these ones can waggle up a bit, but you can never quite, like, it kind of looks like a hand now, but I don't know, I think it's better just to concentrate on these two. This hand actually has a dedicated mushroom peg swivel above the fist, but right here. But that is only for robot mode, which is kind of cool. So he can, go like, next time, you damned cars! Unimpeded waist swivel despite having some stuff on his back, which is a pleasure to see, especially on a Sky-Byte who's often weighed down by having lots of interconnected stuff. In this case, no, not really. Like, the legs can even kick freely backwards and forwards. You can do some very slightly detented outward motion for a bit of Van Damination. There is a thigh swivel. There is a knee joint, which I'm going to only move the knee joint. I'm only moving the knee joint, and that's how far it bends in. There is a transformation joint that is almost easier to move, but it's demonstrably not meant to be a knee joint. So, try to hold that stuff together when you're posing the knee joint. The ankles can tilt inwards happily, and then you can point the toes if you like. In fact, it's worth noting that for robot mode, there's a pointed click, click, moment that happens there that is good for stability, but you do need to undo it if you want to have the toe pointed down a little bit. Very solid articulation on Age of the Prime Sky-Byte, especially for these familiar body silhouette elements, having them actually be just straight up like modern posable, without having to think too much about what's going on other than maybe accidentally flicking that up or accidentally flicking that open. I'm gonna exercise some legitimate boldness and courage as I state that this transformation is, unequivocally, intensely weird. Like, there are parts sliding around on pins. Age of the Prime Sky-Byte represents some of the best elements of the better end of a shell-oriented conversion, with linear paths for his 4 main shell pieces that carry them into unholy alignments and satanic geometries, all in the pursuit of forming a big, plump cybershark. What helps to make all of this work are the various friction tabs, providing almost as much strength in guidance as they do in locking the alt mode together. This process does require a few certain orders of operation, and definitely can leave you stumped if you haven't messed with the figure for a few weeks, but its creativity and engineering is one of those reminders that deep within the heart of the Transformers team beats the pulse of some folks who know how to navigate these tactile waters. Now in the form of the coolest shark in town, Sky-Byte is an excellent rendition of an asymmetry-ridden techno-organic alien shark, as seen in the Bible. Our latest Sky-Byte eschews any sculpted curvature beyond the natural slopes of his plump silhouette, and reaps the benefits tenfold. This looks so dang good from nearly every angle, the chaotic aesthetic even making the upskirt exposed robot chest and shins feel like they're just supposed to be down there. But let's get into the good stuff. The Sharkticulation! Aside from having a working jaw, Sky-Byte can even look down, revealing some ribbed and wholly pleasurable texturing when he does so. The real treasure is in the rear, though, as his robot arm geometries basically give him a working, swishing tail. You can even work some twist in if you carefully manipulate the aligned robot arm joints, but don't overdo it or you might overstress the parts that slide along metal pins. And to top it all off, the twin missile launcher can swap down to Sky-Byte's lower jaw, entirely to look as ridiculous as possible, to enable his torpedo-vomiting beast mode superpower. By the way, all I'm saying is that you can expose 2 5mm ports on either side of the bottom half of the shark mode. You know, just in case someone ever made, I don't know, wheels of some kind. It's just a thought. Simply an idle daydream. If you are here for the core weirdness of Sky-Byte, then Age of the Prime's Voyager-class rendition is absolutely for you. This toy navigates a minefield of potential issues with the aplomb of a ballerina covered in knives who isn't a bloody mess at the end of the show, a common and rote metaphor, I know. A niche piece released under the dour auspices of our modern, extremely interesting times, Sky-Byte is by far the standout Voyager of 2025's Age of the Prime's offerings, ignoring the 2026 toys that could also be found in 2025. If the current state of MSRP mathematics hasn't placed him out of budgetary reach, and you actually like Sky-Byte, and aren't hoping that purchasing a new one will somehow recolor your hypothetical disdain for the character, you monster, he's worth prioritizing. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I just realized I can bookend this video the same way it started. Patreon patrons, YouTube membership members, coffee baristas,